Life Management Science Labs would like to acknowledge that we live and produce this podcast on the traditional lands of the Wurundjeri people. We'd also like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands of our listeners and our international colleagues. We'd like to pay our respects to their elders past, present, and emerging. Hey everyone, and welcome to Raising Parents, the Parenting Science Insights podcast, produced by Ella Massal, the Life Management Science Labs. We are champions of life management science, providing structured insights informed by science and inspired by practice on key aspects of conscious living. Each week, we bring you scientific and practical insights on each element with the expert knowledge of professionals in the field. I'm your host, Dina Sargent. Let's get started.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the show. Today, we are diving into the topic of vision, in particular relating to children and screen time. This is obviously a topic that many parents are probably worried about, and so our expert, Dr. Langis Michaud, is here to share some wisdom with us today. Dr. Michaud graduated from the University of Montreal School of Optometry in 1986, where he also obtained his master's degree in physiological optics. He also graduated in public health from the National School of Public Administration in Montreal in 2006. He has been a fellow of the American Academy of Optometry since 1989 and Cornea and contact lens Diplomate since 1994. He is also fellow of the Scleral Contact Lens Organization since 2010 and fellow of the British Contact Lens Association since 2013. Dr. Michaud is also a professor and practices at the University of Montreal since 2001 as the chief of the contact lens department. He also treats anterior segment diseases and for more than 10 years was a visiting professor at Paris Sud University. Dr. Michaud has published numerous articles in peer-reviewed journals as well as professional reviews. He is an author of more than 35 chapters of books edited in France. He has been invited to speak in Europe, Asia, and the US, and is a regular speaker at American Academy of Optometry and European Academy of Optometry meetings. Dr. Michaud is also the current president of the College of Optometrists of Quebec. Clearly, Dr. Michaud has a wealth of knowledge and experience to draw from this episode, and I'm very excited to interview him. So welcome to the show, and thank you for being here.
Thanks for inviting me. It's a real pleasure to be with you today.
So just to begin, I'd like to ask a couple of introductory questions kind of about you and our topic today. So first of all, what sparked your interest in optometry that led you to pursue this career?
Oh, that's a good question. In fact, I think that as many kids in high schools, I was fascinated by the study of the eye, and my first dissection of the cattle eyes was, just phenomenal. You know how complex this little organ is, and what brings to the brain. And in fact, it's an open door to the world. And second thing, I really learned very fast that 80% of everything we learn in life is going through our eyes. So for me, it was a given, and I was interested to be in health sciences. Not so interested in medicine, despite the fact that now optometry is, highly partly medicine. But I wanted to focus on something more technical, more where we have more time with people in order to do our stuff, and optometry was just there. I was fortunate to be accepted at the school. We are the only French speaking school in Canada in teaching optometry. We have just one other school in Waterloo in Ontario, and we have a lot of candidates every year, but I was fortunate to be accepted. And so, 30-ish years later, I'm here still as a faculty member of the same school.
Wow, that's really interesting. And just to introduce our topic a little bit, before we dive in a bit more deeply later, I wanted to start with a big concern. How has screen time affected kids' eyes today differently to perhaps a decade ago?
It's still an unanswered question, I would say, because it's a multifactorial phenomenon. It's not only the screen, but the light around the screen, the type of videos and text and things that you are looking at the screen, the time you spend on the screen, the distance from your eyes to the screen is really, really the crucial point. The age of the refractive error, if you are myopic, non-myopic, if you have a binocular vision issue, if your eyes are well coordinated to see and to look and to follow all these teeny pieces of information you have from the screen. So it's not just one thing, but what we can say certainly is technology that is around us modify our behavior, and when we are animals adapting to our environment, so when you modify the behavior in a very short term like this one with screens, it affects certainly the function of the body, and there are winners and losers around that particular twist of technology, and certainly affecting more people than others. But I see kids. What I can say for sure is I see kids with deteriorated visual function now at a very young age compared to what I saw when I began my practice 35 years ago. So I have kids highly myope now. I have kids with a lot of binocular vision issues. I have kids with a lot of behavior issues as well. Which we talk about child obesity, sedentarity, not playing outside, not living the way kids are supposed to live, and certainly it affects their vision, it affects their behavior, it affects their brain, it affects everything in their life, and it's certainly one thing that we have to realize. But to put screens on top of the list of the main causes for all of these changes, it's one element among many others.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. But that's very telling, isn't it? That as your career has gone on, there's been a change in how many people are coming to you with these issues. It's really interesting to me and fascinating that you've sort of been able to observe something like that as you've, grown throughout your career, I suppose.
Yeah, my office is a living lab. In fact,
Mm.
and I'm in the perfect world at the school here because I'm still seeing patients on a day-to-day basis. I'm witnessing what they are facing as challenges with their vision, and certainly from there, I'm taking questions for my research and to struggle with later on in my days, and certainly to try to find answers to those concerns they have. Everything is coming from the clinical side to the more theoretical side, and sometimes from the theoretical side we try to translate into the clinical world, but it's first and foremost the needs of the patients that are driving our efforts, either in research and here at the school.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd love to talk more about this and what you have been getting up to. But first of all, we would like to get to know you a little bit better. So, this is our Have You Met segment. It's a bit of a rapid fire icebreaker just to get to know you a little bit better. So, my first question is, do you have a favorite book?
Many books, in fact. I'm a avid reader. I like a lot of different topic. Recently, one of my favorite author is Dos Santos. He is publishing kind of a historical novel, but with a kind of a thriller at the same time, detective police thing. So it's a very good mix of that interesting, but it's always well researched, evidence based. So as a faculty member, I like to look at the facts and evidence based things. So his books are so well written. So it's every time I open up one of his book, I enter a different world, and it
Mm,
drives me for hours just uh, trying to find out what will be the outcome.
yeah, absolutely. And what about a movie? Do you have a favorite movie?
Forrest Gump, of course.
Hmm.
Certainly, I was not that old when I saw Forrest for the first time. It was one of the first time I saw a movie with this kind of animation, with someone in the present living in the past with images from the past. So it was fascinating for me. So yeah, probably one of the best movie I ever saw.
Yeah, cool. And what about podcasts? Do you listen to podcasts and do you have a favorite?
I'm listening to podcasts. We have a very good national network here, CBC Broadcasting Network, and or in French, Radio Canada, and they produce a lot of the podcasts. Recently, I was listening to uh, a guy. He's a pharmacist, but he's looking very deep in some. Uh, public health issues, and he was talking about the Lyme disease. And because we had few mediated cases, and a young girl last year committed suicide, uh, apparently due to the pain from the chronic Lyme disease, and he was questioning about the even the presence of chronic Lyme disease, and not only the disease, but what I like on that podcast is he tries to find how people are feeling about things, and how these disease or these medications or these facts affect them in a day-to-day basis. And for me, meeting with patients, learning how they can react to this, it just reinforced, my knowledge about, how to deal with people and how to handle their situation, their clinical situation when I discuss with them, and all the time, the conclusion is the same. See, if you take the time to listen to people, you will learn something, because most of the time we have limited, encounter with patients, and if we don't let them express everything they have to say, not only they are frustrated, but we are missing a lot of information that are crucial to take care of them very, very well. And again, even after all these years, I'm still learning about how to handle patients and how to be more effective with them. But more and more, my ears are becoming wider and wider, because I try to take the time at least to give them enough space to express their concerns and their needs.
Yeah, that's really interesting, especially when you mentioned Lyme disease there. I actually follow somebody on social media with Lyme disease, or, the co-infections that it has. And it's fascinating to see the myriad of different mental and physical symptoms and how the treatment is going for that. So very
Yeah,
interesting.
and that was interesting because he was able to demonstrate that the chronic Lyme disease, and I don't want to offend anyone here. I really respect and everyone suffering from that disease, but
Mm,
it's at the basis he demonstrated through 12 cases, 12 different cases. Some committed suicide, some were heavily medicated, and some were in very bad shape, but all of them had at the basis other major health or psychological issues.
yeah.
And again, it's not just one factor. Lyme disease is probably one triggering factor that promotes a lot of other things to happen. But and I'm not a specialist in Lyme disease, but at least that was really well done, and it deconstructed those assumptions. um, just like Bartonello's, for example, that bacteria cannot invade humans. Period.
Mm,
It's not possible. It's not living in humans. It's living in the woods, in animals in the woods, not in humans. And there's no single case
mm,
published, research, proven that this transmission was. But still, doctors are treating that with heavy doses of antibiotics, and those antibiotics, heavy dose, are killing people more than what they think they are killing them.
mm.
So
Wow.
sorry, I'm becoming passionate about that, but
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
we have a lot of this misinformation in health science nowadays, and my main battle on day-to-day basis is to go against Dr. Google,
Mm,
because when a patient is coming first time I meet them, I and again my ears are quite open. I want to listen to their story. I'm a reference center, so I don't see patients on a primary basis. Why I have referred patients, and obviously when they are in my chair, it's because they have a lot of problems.
mm.
But you know, when they say, the first word they say is, "I did my research." Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
you know, uh, and then I listen a lot, and it takes time to deconstruct, because you know they believe hardly in what they found, and it's difficult for me sometimes to say, it's not exactly that. Let's put this in perspective of what you have. My testing probably not so accurate. don't prove this.
Mm,
So that kind of thing. And so but every time, when you take the time to listen to what they say, for most of the people, you will find one single element where, okay, I can give you a hand, and you know tracking you to my world,
mm,
and then helping you better. And then we have this link. And the goal here is to establish a link, and a confidence link between the patient and me, in order to be partner in their treatment. I'm not there to dictate what to do, or what kind of treatment to do. I'm there to suggest things, and then we begin the discussion. If you agree, we'll try that, and if it's working, good. If it's not working, we'll try to find out why, and we'll find something else. And but in those cases, it's surprising that even some of my colleagues would endorse those theories that are coming from nowhere and have no
mm,
real basis. And as an
yeah.
academic, it's a more concern now, because we are living in a world where people are not so interested to find the truth. They are there for the big titles, and they are reinforcing their social media, but by the algorithm, and it's, to have evidence based demonstration of what is occurring, and where the facts are finally.
Yeah.
It's very, very difficult, and more difficult. So it's even in our world. I was asking to review an article the other day, and I know the topic. I knew the topic, but that particular article was strangely written, and
Mm,
I just put a few keywords on ChatGPT, and said, okay, write me an article on this topic with this element.
yeah.
And you know what? It was 80% copy paste with
Yeah.
the article I had to evaluate.
Yeah.
Obviously, the supposed author of that article submit to a very famous journal in my area,
Mm,
didn't disclose that he used ChatGPT to write his article, but
yeah.
I had, as a reviewer, to say, okay, yeah, put
Yeah.
it in the it's garbage, because it's not really science here.
No.
But you don't know, and someone who wouldn't pay attention would have read that article. It would have been very interesting. And they say, hey, I have proof of this.
Yeah.
I don't know. We are in that kind of world
Tricky.
today.
Yeah.
Tricky, yeah.
Tricky. So, my next question for you is, do you have a role model? This could either be somebody in your personal life, or it could be like a professional role model if you like.
Oh, good question. First person to mention is, probably professionally speaking, my
Mm,
uh, colleague, Jacques Sévigny. He was a real mentor for me. He showed me how to be a good optometrist, and how to put motivation and dedication for patients before anything else. So he's my friend Daniel Brazo as well, as my co-colleague here at university, influenced me a lot as well.
yeah.
And these are the ones. Obviously, the big names like Nelson Mandela, or other famous persons
Mm,
who did a lot of good thing around the world, are inspiring. We try just to match them with the limited means that we have in our hands. But they are really and truly inspiring. So some of them are just saying one word. And on the other side, Winston Churchill probably is a very good role model. Not in his life in general. He had a lot of of negative things, but at least he was a very and tremendously brain uh, intelligent people. He was so bright,
mm,
way in advance in his time, and he was obviously a very good politician. He won the war, but he won the Nobel Prize for literature. At the same time, can you imagine? what kind of brain you should have in order to get that kind of things. And I had to have the time to write books at this level. And Winston Churchill was a mentor for my father as well. And this is how I was introduced to Churchill, because my father, he was teaching English, and he read Churchill in the text. And he talked often about, and quote often Churchill's. And I was interested in, very young in that, person.
Mm.
And he continued to inspire me on a day to day basis.
Yeah. So, I would like to move on now to our questions for today, where we're talking about how screen time is affecting children's vision. So, thank you for sharing everything so far. I just want to get a few definitions and understanding under our belts first. Obviously, you see a lot of children, and that's probably what we're going to talk about
Mhm.
most today. But how would you define parenting?
Oh, that's a
Mm.
very good question. Parenting, I would say the first word that comes in my mind is it's a gift.
Mm.
You are gifted when you have kids. You can be gifted many ways in life, but when you have kids, it's really something that change your life for the best. And from there, by the day you learn that you'll be a father or a mother, you have to take this responsibility very seriously, because
Mm.
these little ones are really depending on the person you are, what you'll do, and what care you will give to them. So you have to take that responsibility that very seriously. So it's a gift, but it's a very precious gift, and you have to take care of it uh, with all the means that you have, and with all the heart that you have, in fact.
Yes.
And yeah.
Absolutely. And so, obviously, we're going to talk a lot about screens today. So, how do you define screen time?
Well, screen time is any moment you are in front of an electronic device. It can
Hmm.
be a tablet, it can be a computer, it can be a telephone, can be anything that
Yeah.
is producing some sort of images, sound, text, and even audio, like we are producing today. So yeah,
Mm,
it's any moment you are in front of these devices, is screen time.
yeah. So, what is the importance of parents really understanding how screen time could affect a child's vision?
Uh, Again, it's multifactorial, and it's not only the vision. They have to understand that even at a very young age, between 0 and 2 years old, if you expose a kid to a single minute of screen, you begin to destroy his capacity to learn things in life.
Mm.
You don't teach that kid the best. You think that this video about this thing will you know, promote that brain at the level of Einstein. No, 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 no. It's too young. It's too young. I read a good article, a peer-reviewed journal the other day on the influence of screens on social behavior of kids, and we talk about the nonverbal, signs that a person can uh, give in a regular conversation, like I'm looking at you, you're looking at me, and uh, outside of what I can say, you perceive, looking at me, some indications about what's going on, and on how I feel. And the other day I was invited to speak on the radio, CBC radio, on the and we have a I'm a regular speaker there to answer questions from the public. And one of the questions was, what is the role of the pupil, or how pupil reacts to according to our behavior? Is it how can you explain that our pupil dilate when we are in a good mood, or when we think about someone we cherish, and something like that, complicated in the brain. But part of the answer was you have to remember those elements and that influence the brain. But when you see someone in front of you with dilated pupils, it may mean a lot of things, but depending on the context, and this is it may mean a lot of things, but you have to translate that context and to understand what is the real meaning. So it's not coming from a screen. You cannot detect that,
Mm.
through a screen. Even if the best video, the best movie you will look at, will not tell you this. Even if you look at the actor, 2 inches from the screen and with
Mm.
big details, it's not the same thing. So babies and infants and adolescents, especially at the adolescent time, but the learning process is from birth. They learn looking at other people in the street, looking at the objects around them, at their environment. And they realize, okay, the meaning of this thing is this. And we teach as parents and other relatives around them the meaning of things. And it's not coming from the screen. So when you expose your kids too much to the screen, it's not just the vision, it's the entire behavior of your kids that you're affecting. So back to
Yeah.
vision, though, is the screen is important. The level of light is important. We can talk about blue light. That's another story. But
Yeah.
the amount of lighting, but the light and the surrounding. If you look at the screen in the dark environment or in a regular environment, like my office, actually, well light up, it's a different scenario. The distance from the screen is crucial,
Mm.
and telephones are particularly detrimental for the visual system because most of the persons are looking at their phones around 10 or 15 centimeter from their nose,
Mm.
even closer than that. And there's few studies published in the United States, and they look when adolescents are lying on the couch, the distance from the eyes to their phones is 9 centimeter.
Mm.
9 centimeter. So imagine that the visual system is not built to look at that very short distance. It takes huge energy to converge first, to make your eyes
Right.
crossing at the right, distance, and to keep that. So you ask your eyes to lift, 200 kilos for 3 hours in a row, you
Mm.
know, like this. And obviously, if you're an athlete, you can do that. But kids and adolescents are not athletes, visually speaking, so they cannot handle that kind of pressure. And
Mm.
again, we are animal reacting to our environment. Darwin was right. Sorry if I often audience on that. But
Mm.
I'm a heavy Darwinian terrorist. I believe
Mm.
in that. And so we adapt to our environment, and because this effort at the very short distance is too huge, the system reacts, making the eyes more myopic. Why? Because when you are myopic, the distance is blurred,
Mm.
but the more myopia you have, the closer is the farther you can see. At 5 diopters, 5 degrees of myopia, the farther you can see clearly is 20 centimeter. After that, it's blurry.
Yeah.
So in fact, when you are looking at 20 centimeter and you're -5, you're not using your close vision. You're not using your near vision. You're using your distance vision to look
Mm.
at near. So it's one way for the system to lower the energy necessitated to read, and certainly the time span on screen and the time span. You would read a book at 10 centimeter, it would be exactly the same.
Mm.
It's the distance and the effort, then distance multiplied by the number of seconds you spend in front of those devices. In a book, you have at the end of the chapter. And honestly, I'm an avid reader, but it's boring to be 2 hours in a row, and you have to do something else. You
Yeah.
look elsewhere, you grab a glass of water, you go to the restaurant. But it's very rare that you are 2 hours in a row in front of a book. But in front of my screen, I have you, but if I don't cancel the message, I have a pop-up here. I have this there. I have a
Yeah.
message entering from my phone. I have, all the time there's something new that attracts me here, there, boom, boom, boom. I react to this. Okay, I go to this page. I like it. No,
Mm,
and it's a constant stimulation during 2 3 hours at this very close distance. So again, the neurological system and the brain and the eyes cannot support that. And the
mm.
younger you are, the more affected you will be, and the more negative impact will have in the future because you destroy your system when you were young.
Yeah, absolutely. So you mentioned earlier about, your patients and people coming in to see you. What are the most common vision problems that you're seeing in children now, and how are they tied to their use of screens?
I will surprise you. It's not myopia. Myopia
Really?
is highly prevalent, more than
Mm,
ever. And I don't want to downsize myopia. It's really a public health issue, and we have to pay attention and to treat it aggressively. National Academy of Science defined it as a disease recently, and I believe it's true. It's a disease. But it's binocular vision problems. It's
mm.
probably one kid out of two at a young age. I'm talking about 0 to 8 years old,
Okay.
who is affected by binocular vision. So what is binocular vision issue? Binocular means that your two eyes are coordinated and they see at the same time the same thing. And in order to interpret in the visual system, in the back of the eye, in the brain, what is this image and what is the meaning of this image and what it does for me, what kind of reaction should I have in front of that image. So it's very complicated system because when you are born, each eye is not seeing well, and babies are highly blurry. They see blurry. They can't see more than the face of their mother when they are born. So grandpa coming at the entrance of the hospital or in at the house, hey baby. Ugh, baby has no clue about who he is, and in fact, really, he doesn't care.
Yeah.
Where's my mom? Where's my lunch? And that's it.
Mm,
But very rapidly, in a matter of weeks, and it depends really on the quality of the visual stimulation. If you stimulate properly the baby's eye from 0 to 6 months, you will develop perfect vision in each eye. That doesn't mean they are coordinated, but each eye sees like an adult just by the fact that the eye is stretching, growing very fast, and adapt is power in order to clear up that image. So it's fascinating. It takes when you look at that, the visual system is not completed. It's a work in progress at birth, and then develops very rapidly during 6 months. Every day it is changing because the stimulation is there. Okay, I see this texture. I see this ball. I see this puppy animal. I see this food. I see mommy. I see the sun. I see the grass. I see the light. I see the dark. So th- all of these cells in our retina, and we have millions of cells, are generating influx to the brain, and it's a code. Every cell is coding the light entering in the eye. So we have millions of numbers creating neurons, network at the brain. It's coming from the eye to the brain on the back completely. So neurons after neurons after neurons after neurons, and then the vision develop. And then from 6 months to 8 years, all of these images coming from the right eye into the left eye, they have to be mixed. Other way, I will see double, or I will be
mm,
very confused in my world. So I have to match and mix these images. So it takes 8 years. 8 years. It's incredible, to mature this nervous system and to create all the links that the two hemisphere from the right, the brain on the right and the brain on the left side, communicate together and establish the links with the neurons in order to interpret what we are seeing. And it's not the end of the story, because at the same time, and during all of our years, those network are reacting to what we are seeing. Some neurons not stimulated will just collapse and decline, and new stimulation will create new connections. And it's vision, but vision will talk to audition, audition will talk to smell, smell will talk to taste, taste will talk to touch, touch will talk to music and to the way we are moving, and will interpret all of these things. This is how we are functioning. So again, it's a complicated process, but for kids 0 to 8, the problem that I see the most is this problem of connection. Why? Because they are not well stimulated visually anymore,
Mm,
because of the screen, because of the environment, because they don't play outside, because they are not exposed to nature, they are not exposed to trees, they are not exposed to having a ball rolling down the road. They
mm,
not that kind of thing. So these essential connections to interpret the world we are living in are not made. And we really have problems. Why? Because parents are bringing their kids. My kid can't read, he has
mm,
difficulty to pronounce that word. He is probably hyperactive. I need medication.
mm.
No, you need vision training. You don't need medication. And he's hyperactive because he cannot concentrate, because he can't see the words in front of him, and he cannot interpret the meaning of the word because he never put, vision in connection with the others, senses in the brain.
Wow.
That's the reason. And this is why we have dropouts at 6 years old, 7 years old, and we have problems in school. Obviously there are hyperactivity, and we have tons of kids needing medication, but the first element is to look at the vision and how
Yeah.
the eyes are functioning. It's again astonishing to have kids at 7 8 years old. I see them here in reference because they don't know what's occurring and what's happening, and this is their first visual exam.
Yeah.
They are struggling in classroom for 2 years, 3 years now. They are heavily medicated. Nobody finds a clue about what's going on. And finally, they decide, okay, well, it may be the eyes. And guess what? We find a lot of problems, and we train them not with glasses, just with exercise sometimes, and we fix things.
Yeah.
We fix things, and it's really a game changer for these kids.
Mm.
Hopefully the brain, the plasticity of the brain is not ended at 8 years old. As I mentioned, we can work the best of the best is before 8. If I can intervene at 4 years old, it will me take a few weeks and then restore, fix, gone. At 8 years old, it will take me months. At 12 years old, 15 years old, it will take me more months to restore the visual. But we can do that. But it's very important to bring kids at the first exam. If you didn't see nothing wrong, and I cross with the other ones, or a kid bumping in every corner of the chair,
Mm.
but if everything seems quite normal, at the age of 3, it's the minimum standard. You have to bring your kids to the optometrist at the age of 3 in order to see what happens,
Yeah.
because this is where we can still intervene with a limited time and with more efficacy than anything else. And if there's a problem other than just the connection of two eyes together, we can see that too. So before the age of 8, it's binocular vision. The way and it's so important again for this. It's a basis. It's really the basis for schoolwork and all the career of that kid. If they cannot study well, if they cannot read well, if they
Yeah.
cannot understand what they are reading, what they are looking, even if it's a drawing, if they cannot, see it properly and mix the images together, they they start their life with two strikes against them.
Mm.
And the kid just beside them with very good vision will be favored because he has a
Yes.
benefit that the other ones are not. And we can fix that, so a very easy fixing. So bring your
Mm.
kids to the optometrist and to fix everything that you can. After the age of 8, now myopia is coming is becoming the number one problem.
Yeah.
Because refractive error in general, but myopia more and more. And between 8 and 12, is Formula One. It's evolving like that.
Yeah.
It's speed track. Fast progressors all the time. They lose 1.5 diopter per year. After 4 years, 5 diopters more. Boom. They are 9 years old and they are -5, -6.
Wow.
That's incredible. And I
Yeah.
see not one of them, many of them at that level, during my days. And it's more and more prevalent. Brian Olden predicted, based on Australia and Brian Olden Vision Institute in Sydney, passed away a few years ago. But Brian told the entire world, many years that, okay, by 2050, 50% of the population will be myopic.
Yes.
And it was right. It was right. And recent data proved that it will be even more than that. It goes
Yeah,
faster
it
than he
seems like it.
predicted.
Yeah.
It will be more than 50, 55%. And for most of the moderate to low myope, not a big deal, even if there are some concerns. But the high myopes, over -6 diopters
Right.
with a very long eye, they will represent 10% of the entire population.
Wow.
So that 10% of the entire population is at high risk of developing significant and blinding ocular pathology. 10% of the population. So if the health minister is listening to that podcast, prepare your budget,
Yeah.
because the cost to treat visually impaired 10% of the population in 2050, which is tomorrow, it is significant. And we
Absolutely.
can prevent that again. We can prevent that. And this is why we do a lot of things with kids to prevent them to evolve at that level.
This is so interesting. I had no idea how linked the vision was to so many of the other senses and just, the behavioral issues that you see, so many different things. I want to quickly talk about blue light glasses. What do you think about these? Are they actually helping against, digital eye strain? Do they actually work, or are they more of a marketing gimmick?
Placebo and marketing gimmick.
Got
Okay.
it.
I'm very honest on that.
Yeah.
I see people who cannot live without their blue blocker. I can see people most of the time saying, I have no real effect of that. Okay. Blue light is beneficial for the eye and the visual system if exposed on the short term. It becomes detrimental for the visual system if the eye is exposed on a long term. So again, the time spent in front of the screen. And it's not all the screens that are emitting blue light. Even our regular environment is emitting blue light as well. You're going outdoor, you have blue light. And it's not only from the computer, but and some sort of blue light are even essential to dictate our sleep cycle, for example, and our human behavior.
Yeah.
So if you block them, you alter your natural physical properties, which is not good.
Right.
So there's a small range of blue light that may become harmful if the eye is exposed on the long term to them. So then it's very nice to block them. The problem is, if you want to block them completely, you will change your color vision and you will see everything yellow.
Yeah.
So nobody wants to have a pair of glasses when you put them on and you see yellow around you. You're in the middle of a mix of a lemonade. No, that's not working. And people in the marketing of those companies understood that very soon in the process. So what they do, they block blue light to the level that is not disturbing for the color vision, which is 20%. So you have blue blocker glasses that are blocking 20% of the blue light, but letting 80% of the blue light entering into your eye. Is it efficient? Homeopathic, probably 20%. There's one company who is producing contact lenses with a blue blocker, but that blue blocker is now at 40%. And if you look at that contact lens, it's grayish, yellowish. It's colored contact lens. It's not
Yeah.
aesthetically showing up when you are wearing that contact lens, and most of the people are wearing them very, very well with no concern. But
Yeah.
that lens blocks 40% of the blue light, and then we can have a beginning of some sort of protection against these, and they targeted these harmful rays. So they did a very good job on that.
Mm.
But still, it's 40% only, 60% are going. And your sensitivity to blue light is not the same as mine.
Yeah.
So for you, it may be very beneficial to block 40%. For me, it will do nothing.
Right.
And again, so it's on patient per patient basis. It's there when people are just asking, knees on the floor, oh, please give me the blue block.
Mm.
Okay, I give you, but
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan.
Interesting. So I want to move on now to some questions from the internet, where we have a few questions from people on the internet about our topic, and hopefully you can give some advice. And this first one is one that I would have asked you anyway, because I'm really interested and you have brought it up a couple of times. This person is asking, does the type of screen time matter? For example, something on a tablet versus regular television?
Television is different because the distance again.
Mm.
It's very rare that you will be at 3 inches of the screen of the television to look at it. Yeah,
Yeah.
habitually you are a few feet away at least, hopefully. But the type of screen, again, it's the same kind of, it's not radiation, but same emission of light, I would say, but depending on the on what are the pixels made of. The OLED
Mm.
pixels are more detrimental compared to the other ones for the
Right.
visual system. But again, it's the distance, because the smartphone, for example, I mentioned that, will be look at very close. Tablets a little bit farther away. Regular computer, laptops, farther away, and the TV screen. So it's not the type of devices, but more the distance of
Mm.
observation. As a take-home message for parents and for everybody listening, the minimum distance between your eyes and any screen at all should be when you put your elbow here on your ankles up to the tip of your finger. So it's the Harman, we call that Harman distance, from the elbow to the tip of the finger when you are, you know, like this. Um,
Mm.
Coming from an ophthalmologist, Dr. Harman, who observed 100 years ago that kids living in a rural area were less myopic compared to those living in cities.
Wow.
And it's still
Interesting.
true. It's
Yeah.
still true. It's proven now, but he did that, observation, and he relied that to the fact that kids in cities were more educated than those living in farms in rural areas at that time, not today, of course,
Mm.
but at that time. And because of the reading and the schoolwork, they were exposed to more near work and reduced distance of learning.
Yeah.
Another study on that is very interesting. And again, it's not against anyone. And that was made in Israel by Jewish scientists. So it's nothing against
Yeah.
Jewish people. It's made by them for them. But I
Yeah.
just read that, and they compare Orthodox Jews studying the Bible by the age of 3,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and non-Orthodox Jews living in the same city, same area, going to school at 6, 7, 8 years old instead of 3. Lighting
Ah.
is different because in where they are studying the Torah, it's low lighting, candles, all that stuff. Very, very short distance.
Mm.
And he observed that myopia was more developed in young boys in the Orthodox,
Yeah.
community at a younger age, for two reasons. First, they are studying way more and for many, many hours at
Mm.
very, very young age in low lighting compared to girls. Orthodox girls, Jewish girls are less myopic than Orthodox boys,
Mhm.
and they are becoming myopic, but because they don't look at distance, they don't have a professor in front explaining it. They are on their books all the time. um, they have almost no clue that their vision is deteriorating at distance. So it takes time to get them to be corrected at distance. And we know that under correction or myopia that is not fully compensated
Mm.
is just, again, fast progressing. So
Wow.
it's a kind of a vicious circle. So again, the environment, it tells us that the environment, because they have the same genetic background,
Yeah.
everybody in those communities. But the environment, the schoolwork, the reading distance, the level of lighting, the intensity of that schoolwork from this hour, number of hours spent in front of a cloth, and they are not exposed to screen. They are exposed to books
Mm.
to study the Bible. And so they have this same negative impact compared to screens. Again, it's distance, lighting, conditions, and the time you spend in front of them.
Yeah, that's so interesting. That's a really interesting case study. Um, so this next question from the internet, this person asks, our doctor says my kid has to wear glasses all the time, but he doesn't feel the need to. My kid chose his own frame, but he constantly forgets to wear it, and I have to constantly remind him. What can we do to make sure he remembers? What do you think of that?
The optometrist or the doctor gave a good recommendation. And again, it's depending on the type of glasses we are talking about.
Hmm.
Um, if you, when you are myopic, you don't set distance, and we correct with, we call them negative glasses, because it's negative power glasses.
Yeah.
But it's single vision glasses, or regular glasses. So for 100 years, we said remove your glasses when you're reading, because again, it's less demanding for the visual system, and you will rely on your distance vision instead of your near vision. Is better. That was observed, in the 50s and the 60s and before that. It's no longer true, for instance, but single vision glasses are promoting myopia, just like giving sugar to a diabetic patient. Because part of the image formed by these glasses is in focus at where it matters, because they see clearly at distance, but in the periphery, it's becoming blur, and the image is formed on the back behind the retina.
Mm.
And so the retina thinks, okay, because it's local mechanism at the eye level, okay, something is focusing here behind me. So I will stretch myself to reach that image,
Mm.
and I will increase my size. And the eye globe is just stretching, and it's becoming more myopic. And then the image in the center becomes blurry. And become it is blurry, the eye thinks, okay, when was the last time I was blurry? Oh, when I was born, at birth. And what did I do? Oh, I stretched myself and it cleared up. So I'm out of focus. I don't see well at distance. Let's do the same thing. Let's stretch again. So, but it doesn't work, of course, and it's
Mm.
becoming more and more blur, and blah, 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 vicious circle. So two things here. You have to correct myopia at the right level. So under correction doesn't work. If you refract -3, prescribe -3,
Mm.
and wear -3. Don't wear -2. It will not, help the eye to become more efficient. It's not a visual exercise to lower the power that is needed. To the contrary, it's creating a blur that promotes more myopia. Second thing, never use single vision regular glasses to correct myopia, because you will create that image behind the retina, promoting myopia again. So, fortunately, in Australia and here in our country, we have access to anti-myopia glasses. So they have central area for the focus at distance, which is good, but it's all surrounded by a kind of a defocus, mini lenses generating this image that was behind the retina to be now aligned with the retina and even in front. So these glasses cancel the signal for the eye to grow more than the natural physical growth. And this is how we control the excess of myopic growth during childhood.
Yeah.
Contact lenses are doing the same, and
Hmm.
other things are doing the same. So, to answer to the
Wow.
question, to have the right dose to control myopia with these glasses, we have to wear them all the time. And otherwise, we don't have the right dose and we will lose control. So, that's one thing. I
Yeah.
certainly understand that the kid is not wanting to wear the glasses all the time for many reasons. Doing sports activities, don't feel that's necessary, all that stuff. I have tons of these kids in my clinic, and this is why by the age of 7 or 8 years old, we recommend not glasses as the first line therapy, but contact lenses, anti myopia contact lenses, or even better, orthokeratology. Orthokeratology is a technology using rigid lenses to be worn overnight.
Wow.
Yeah, you will say overnight, yeah, but we don't see overnight where our eyes are closed. Yeah,
Mm.
this is what we want. So these lenses are designed to trap the tears between the surface of the eye and the tear itself. And with the force of the tears, we remold and we reshape the cornea, the
Wow.
surface of the eye, in order to make it flatter centrally and in the periphery bumpier, steeper. So that steeper curve brings the image aligned with the retina, so we control myopia. But flattening the central cornea correct the vision
Wow.
temporarily. So the kid is removing the lens in the morning and for in most cases is seeing perfectly at distance with nothing, no glasses, no need of contact lenses, nothing.
Mm.
And that technology controls very well myopia at the same time. So for very active kids, this is my one of my best strategy I suggest. And ask your optometrist about orthokeratology. You have
Mm.
wonderful scientists who developed that technology in Australia, New Zealand, and
Yeah.
in that part of the world. John Montfort, for example, was a pioneer in the rebirth of that technology, designing new ways and new lenses in the 80s. Ellen Swarbrick was prominent scientist who studied that. Paul Gifford is another prominent scientist who studied a lot of those technology, orthokeratology, and their impact in the eye. And all of them were based and are still based in Australia. So
Yeah.
it's almost coming from you guys, and it's available around the world nowadays, and recognized as the number one strategy to correct and control myopia at the same time.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I'd never heard of that technology before about wearing it overnight to correct. That's so cool, and hopefully more people can
Eh,
know about it.
Yeah, it's even available for adults if you want. It's not the same design because we the control is not so much important when the vision is stabilized, and we have to generate to battle against halos and glare that we
Yeah.
may create when we do that with kids. But yeah, that technology is available, and just ask your optometrist, and
Wow.
yeah.
I definitely might look into that actually. So, my last question for you here is our practices and habits section. And this is simply where I want to ask if there's a habit you'd recommend parents practicing to manage their child's screen time.
Uh, Kids will imitate what you do.
Mm.
So when I see a kid in consultation with his parents, and we discuss about screen time, and I saw that the two parents there during all my exam were on their screen.
Mm.
I'm talking to them, they're looking at their screens. What do you think that the kid is
Yeah.
doing?
Mm.
I will not convince the kid to do less screen because he see his parents on a day-to-day basis doing that. So the first thing, if you want to really influence your kids, put aside your screen at home, play with your kids outside, play with your kids with cards, with social games, with whatever you want, but do things that are not involving screens.
Yeah.
And be available for your kids, doing some other things. Do sports, do activities outside,
Mm.
go to a movie, go to the park, something like that. And that's the first thing. Second thing, of course, there are a lot of technological apps and devices that we can just program in order to have kind of parental control of the time and all that stuff. You can
Mm.
have statistic about how much time your kids are spending, and then open the discussion. It's not a matter of, no, don't do that. It's, if you do this, you will have this consequence. We all learn as parents, to warn our kids about consequences, and okay, you did that, you will have a consequence. So if you do that, you will have a consequence, and the consequence is you have bad vision and probably pathology, because as I said, as the eye is developing myopia, the eye is stretching, but we have all the same retina. Retina is just my shirt. If I gain 5 pounds, 10 pounds, 15 pounds, 20 pounds tomorrow morning with the same shirt,
Mm.
it will collapse,
Yeah.
right? And exactly the same thing from the interior of the eye. If the eye becomes too stretchy because the myopia is too high, then everything will collapse. And then you will have retinal detachment. You will have severe glaucoma. You will have maculopathy, and you will have blindness at the age of 65.
Wow.
This is
Yeah.
why myopia is now a disease, because it can lead to death. It's a significant risk factor for blindness.
Mm.
The World Health Organization talked about preventable risk factor for blindness.
Yeah.
We can treat that, we can prevent that. But for parents, you are the example of your kids. Do
Mm.
the right thing, and the kids will imitate you the right way.
Interesting. Well, thank you for sharing all of that. You have shared so much wisdom on this podcast so far. And now I want to give you the chance to talk about something you're passionate about. This is our open mic segment. Now, obviously, you are very passionate about the topic. So feel free to keep talking about that if you think that there's something we haven't covered yet. But if there is something you're passionate about that's not related, go right ahead. The floor is yours.
Oh, I'm with aging, I guess. I'm becoming more and more interested in history and archaeology. I'm
Wow.
a big fan of looking at podcasts or reports about Romans and Greeks
Hmm.
history. I visited Pompeii last year. It
Yes.
was a fascinating open museum, an open window to 2,000 years ago way of living. So and at the same time, it's not only to look at these ancient things, but it's you realize, gosh, they add this technology.
Yeah. I know.
Romans had current, water in their house. They had hot water in their house. They had, they took bath. They had high level of hygiene. And you look at that, and you say, okay, it was 2,000 years ago, and
Mm.
out of a sudden, this civilization went away. And in the Middle Age, we lost everything they invented. Same thing for the Greeks,
Yes.
and we kind of reinvent something now. But it was there in the past 2,000 years ago. So how stupid we are, humans,
No.
to, for, to forget about it. So I'm passionate because it brings me to that kind of reflection from the evolution of humanity, and
Yeah.
what we can learn from others. And again, it's all about learning from others and to listening to
Mm.
what a lot of things that we are exposed to in our lives.
Yeah. It's so interesting. I mean, a bit of a coincidence, but my degree was actually in archaeology. And
Ah, good
yeah.
for you.
And we just like, you reminded me that we just don't really build things to last anymore. Like so many ancient ruins are, thousands of years old. And now, our buildings will collapse after like 50 years. And for example, I believe it was the Roman Empire that had a special formulation for their concrete that's still there. But our concrete now is a completely different thing and it doesn't
Yeah.
last. It's So interesting.
Exactly. And
Mm,
and sometimes you try to find their recipe and it's not
yeah.
possible, of course. And yeah, you're right. We lost that capacity to build something that is lasting, and
Mm.
it's unfortunate because it's a loss of money, loss of energy for everybody.
Mm. Now, we will have to conclude our episode here, and I just wanted to say that you have offered up so much knowledge and advice in this episode, which we're very grateful for. If our listeners want to find out more about you, who you are, and what you do, where should they go?
University of Montreal website on the research side.
Mhm.
I have a professional Facebook page. I have a LinkedIn page, but I'm not a big guy on social media. I have specific groups I'm writing on, especially among optometrists and colleagues, but they can reach me by email. They will find easily my email, and they can write me anytime they want if they have questions about their kids and screens and their vision and how to improve things. But nature is well built in general. The visual system is so impressive.
Mm.
And just to conclude, just realize that 25% of our brain, the neurons, are dedicated to vision. 25% of your brain.
Wow, that's
It's a
huge.
quarter. That's
Yeah.
huge. So this is how important and how dispersed that network is, and related to everything else that we
Mm.
are building as humans in our body. So yeah, that's fascinating again. So they can find me, and I can help them to just figure out what is true, what is not true, what is false news, what is evidence-based things. And
Yeah,
again,
for sure.
again, consult your local optometrist. You have tons of very good optometrists in Australia. So please
Yeah.
do so.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining us and for sharing your wisdom with us. I have learnt so much from you, and you've been great to interview. So, thank you for your time today so much.
My pleasure.
And to our audience, I hope you've learnt just as much as I have during this episode. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next one.
You've been listening to Raising Parents, the Parenting Science Insights podcast, produced by the Parenting Science Labs, a division of LMSL, the Life Management Science Labs. More episodes are available from 10 life management perspectives and can be found by searching LMSL on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and other podcasting apps available on your devices. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider rating our show, sharing it, and subscribing to our channel, as it helps other people find it so that we can grow and bring you more quality resources. More of our work can be found on our website at pa.lmsl.net, where you can join our movement. I'm Dina Sargent. Thanks for tuning in.